Hey neighbors, I'm Tom Zapolsky and I'm currently serving as your board president. It's March 22nd, Friday morning, and last night we had one of our regularly scheduled board meetings. We meet on the third Thursday of every month. That schedule is determined by the board each year, and we found that to be a good time that doesn't interrupt with church on Wednesday nights and doesn't wreck your Saturday by having to come to board meetings. I wanted to provide a bit of a recap of last night and hit a couple key points. It's been just a couple weeks since I was able to reach out and talk to you. So let's roll through this real quick. A lot of regular business, approving of minutes, treasurer report, consent agenda, the manager's report on activities here in the community. We had a governance committee report. Real quickly there, and I need you to pay attention to this. We are doing what's called a revision or rewriting. It's really a revision of our governing documents. These are super important. These are the things that it's like our community's constitution, right? And we don't revise it all the time, and it's been quite some time since a thorough review has been done. You're going to receive this, and we positively need you to participate. It's important. It's one of those like real key responsibilities as an owner. But in our governing documents, first of all, there's just grammatical errors like misspellings and bad punctuation. So we're cleaning the document with that regard. And then also, sometimes we're referred to as a not-for-profit or a non-profit, so bringing continuity of language to it. And those are important things. As we move towards any substantive changes, right? Like, hear me tell you, I'm not suggesting this, but should something like, we're going to allow 2 stories be in there, you will definitely know about that. But it's real important that we clean up this document, we get these revisions and come in line, have that document more aligned with Florida statute and also more aligned with some of our operational practices. Very routine things that we do all the time, nothing new. But just where, Florida statute may say, if you're going to do this thing, it needs to be in this document, cleaning up those types of things. So please pay attention to that. But that committee consists of about 18 people. Really diverse group of full-time residents and those that just vacation there, those that have been in venture out 30 years, that have been in venture out 3 years. And so we have good input on that. So that's called the governance committee. And we see those governance committee meetings. If you want to know what's going on, you can read those minutes that are posted online, or you can attend one of those meetings. You're welcome to as an owner so that you can see everything's done really transparent, really in the open, no backdoor. Sometimes I've read on Facebook, and the board has power. We have such very little power. It's stunning. We're really restrained by Florida statute, and there's very few things that we can just carte blanche do. We get our budget recommendations from a committee of owners. We tend to almost wholesale accept those recommendations because of the work that's put in. Security committee does work and advises the board, tend to follow those recommendations. Again, scores and scores of owners through various committees and our meetings are able to contribute to the community, and we hope you do. On the new business side of the agenda, there was no old business. We announced that Byron Lombard sold his home. He was the vice president of the board and by default a board member, right? When you're not an owner, can't be on the board, so he submitted his resignation at the time of the sale of his home. It was said last night, but for those of you who weren't on there, Byron is an incredible member of our community. He's an accomplished professional, runs the county, and he brought that kind of detailed governance and attention to detail and just a steady, calm, practical hand to the board. And that is something that we will certainly miss. The board elected not to replace him. Florida statute says we can pick someone, so you're going to be on the board now. But our governing documents are more rigid, and our governing documents say, no, you have to do an election. The election process takes 6 weeks at best. All right, call for candidates, sending all the information out, sending all the ballots out, bringing them all in, the whole thing. So the person that would replace Byron would at best take office sometime in June, have July, and then would roll off the board. See, Byron's seat expires in August. So you would be filling that seat for the duration of that term. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. And what we have found, I think this is important to owners, is Right now, the composition of the board is excellent. Instead of 9 board members, we're down to 8. The quorum size stays the same, whether we replace Byron or not. And we have good, healthy tension. We have differences of ideas and opinions, differences of ideas and approaches to things, different life experiences. We have some full-time residents, some part-time, some parents with families like me. And so we believe the board's in a good spot to kind of press on until the new board is elected. So we announced that. We approved a vending contract, a renewal of a contract. We talked about the aged receivables process. I want you guys to know that Cindy Rainey, our secretary, with a small army of volunteers and folks that have helped her along the way, we had, I believe, north of $180,000 in aged receivables. Owners not paying their condo fee, all sorts of things. That's a lot of money. This was just a year ago. And she's collected over $100,000 and developed a age receivable process that connects with owners and encourages them to pay using a variety of tools. So that's just remarkable. That's found money, basically, that, because of the way accounting had been done previously and the lack of software and the lack of just kind of professional technology in our operations, really hard to really verify who was late, who wasn't, how to handle it. So she swept up a ton of cash there for the community. Let's see. We talked about our insurance policies for the community. As with your home, our community faces insurance challenges, and we covered that in great detail to find out what our policies cover, how much they went up, and believe me, they did. When your condo fee goes up, one of the major items that you can look at, say, why did it go up $10, $20, whatever you can look and find that our insurance rates will go up 100% in 1 year or 50%. And not for any reason. We don't have claims. We're not doing anything wrong. It's just the world we live in. And same thing that happens with your home, so you get it. And the next thing we talked about was the proposed changes for administrative rules. Administrative rules, think of as our rule book, right? But we're trying to bring in some common language when we start talking about our rules and regulations. And again, in that document, there are some typos and goofy things. But I think when you see this change, and I'm going to talk about this in 1 second, when you see this change, what you're going to find, if you look at our current rules, there'll be a section called unit use, and it'll talk about all the things, and there'll be about how to park at your unit. So that's sort of that's a parking rule, right? And then it'll be common ground use, and lots of common ground stuff, and parking on common ground. So there's another parking rule in another section. In our current rules, the parking rules are speckled and scattered all throughout the document. So we brought those into a new section. This is the substantive revision that says parking rules, and it's all the parking rules in one spot. So there aren't any, and I don't want to mislead you. You're going to see this. I don't think there's anything earth-shattering in the revision of the parking rules. There was some obscure language in the past, and what's a vehicle, wasn't a vehicle, there's some little nuanced stuff like that we tried to clean up. Our previous rules said you may not park in a way that obstructs the flow of traffic. So here's an example of a revision. We clarified that to say you need to leave 12 feet so that emergency vehicles can get through. We also clarified, crystal clear, that a variety of things can be done to enforce parking rules, from a warning all the way through to towing a vehicle. Now, I don't want to break all these rules down, but I want you to understand something really quickly. This board has wanted to operate and handle complicated situations carefully with community engagement. So last night, the board could have wholesale adopted these rules. It's one of the things that we can do. Revise the rules, and then you just send it to the owners as notice. We're flipping that on its head because of the way we operate. So we've got our revisions. We've grappled over them. We've come to a point in the document that we're happy with. We're ready to vote on it. We're going to send it to you in advance anyways. Not for voting, but for feedback. So if you review these rules and you see things that you think could be written clearer or that might be an issue, then I would encourage you to share that with the board in advance of the board meeting we'll hold to vote on this, or by reaching out to board members by phone or email. And that's really, really important because your feedback is important. Now, it struck me over the past several weeks when I was thinking about these rules and revisions, we made a real attempt to write them super precise, right? So there can never be an issue. But here's the problem. We're dealing with human beings, not bad people. But I can look at something and see that it clearly means A, and you could look at the exact same thing and very logically, and not be wrong, clearly see that it means B, right? I see A, you see B, it's the same language. But what I would encourage us as a community to remember is that we have incredibly high compliance. When you think about our 735 units, even during a busy weekend, we might have a single digit, like 1%, 0.5%, 2% of owners who are guests or renters who are breaking the rule, either accidentally or just blatantly. And so for us to obsess over and have impossible rules to enforce, impossible rules to manage, so that we can squish out that one tiny bit of the community who's breaking the rules, is an impossible task. And so I would encourage you, as you look at the rules, to recognize there's a range of enforcements, warnings, tickets, and towings, and that it's imperfect and that there aren't perfect rules. I'll tell you the perfect rule that clears up a lot of things for us, which I pose: banning parking on our streets in the community. Real easy. And I say that not to scare you, but to encourage you. Help us with these imperfect situations. Help us with the people who are going to defy us. Help us manage this. We're not dictators. We don't have like real special powers, as I said earlier. And if we can pull together as a community and say, this rule's frustrating to me, but I'm going to do my part to comply, we're going to move forward and go a long ways. And then things like banning parking and all kind of that talk, hopefully can go by the wayside. So I believe you'll see these rules as an improvement while imperfect. And there's going to be some issues. We'll work with it. We'll figure it out along the way. But please don't forget to look up and look all over your community and see broad and involved and positive engagement, right? Compliance everywhere. And then, you're going to pull down that road that somebody's breaking the rule. Please don't obsess over that. Let's work with that when it happens. All right. Now we're at 12 minutes, but the good news is you didn't have to sit through a 2-hour board meeting. So if you want to be informed, that's the point of these emails, and I hope that you'll continue to participate. So look for that rules document to be sent out to you. Check it out if you wish. Provide feedback. It's helpful. Now listen, provide feedback. We learn, and we often see things like we didn't know, like, oh, that's important. It doesn't always mean we're going to be able to take action on it, or even that we necessarily agree with the position. But I can tell you that more often than not, you as owners really do influence the board. You move our thoughts along. You change our ideas on a subject. Maybe not every time, and maybe not all 8 of the board members, but you do have a voice, and I want you to know that. And I'll conclude with, we are using a new software called Camp Life. Talked about this a lot. And I shared last night, the implementation of that software that began in the fall has been remarkable. For a wholesale, community-wide new thing for people to do, we're having incredibly high, and we're talking about like 99 point something % success with the system. It is going remarkably well. This system, as you know, or maybe not, is how you register a guest coming to the community. It could be an immediate family member coming to stay with you. It can be the immediate family coming to stay when you're not there. It could be a friend. It could be a renter. All those things. You put in their name, when they're coming, your information, and submit it in the system that sends them their rules in advance, them their invoice in advance, that all the things that work is working so well. But like I said a second ago, really high participation with the rules and parking, like we're talking about like a % or 2 or less issues. We also see that with new technology, we have a very small percentage of people who have a hiccup. When we unpack and unpeel that onion, what we find is the system worked, but the people didn't, right? They were sent their invoice. They didn't pay it. They showed up at the gate. They had to pull ahead and pay it on their phone. Not a big deal. I would argue with you that that's better than coming into the office the next morning. If I could just do that real quick on my phone, or I have to wake up and go stand in line, all that business. Or they may have to pull aside and find their rental reservation so they could show it to the security guard, right? So that they can come in. The point of having a security guard is to make sure that people that are supposed to be there are there. But anytime we've had that type of an incident occur, again, we unpack it. The front office sees they haven't paid, they haven't done their thing, they start calling the guest. Hey, we're looking forward to your arrival. Their voicemail's full, we can't leave a message. We actually speak with them and remind them to, and they still forget and show up without it. So if you hear things about Camp Life that are discouraging, the data is speaking loud and clear that it's working really, really well. And I love the fact that over the past several weeks, I've had friends and family come to my unit and never had to walk in the office. It was all done a week ahead, long ahead of their visit, and that they were ready to rock and just showed up at the beach and had fun. So that's another big step forward. Anyways, that's your board meeting recap in under 16 minutes and 12 seconds. So I hope you're having a great week and are looking forward to an awesome season. Thanks for being involved and paying attention. See ya.